Has your ex moved on, or are they just pretending? Today we're going to talk about 10 clear signs they still care. Hello there. Thank you so much for joining me once again on Love Advice TV. I'm Coach Abby. I am delighted to share this platform, which it's been created uniquely for you, for the Love Advice TV audience, to assist you in navigating through any relationship challenges, especially during a breakup. So one of the biggest fears we all share when we are hoping to get back with a person we love, yet we haven't had any contact with them, they're missing in action, we don't know anything about them, is whether they still have feelings for us. Have they really moved on? I mean, they don't contact us. There's nothing, no response, nothing. Or are they just acting like they have? And look, I get it. That kind of uncertainty torments us. I mean, we find ourselves dissecting every post, every story, viewing every little breadcrumb they might have left behind. And what really makes it harder sometimes is they really look like they've moved on. I mean, on the surface, something just feels so off, the truth is, people don't always say, though, what they feel, especially after a breakup. So sometimes exes put up walls. They pretend, they posture themselves, they mask. It's self-protection. So basically in this video, what I'd like to give you is 10 clear signs that your ex might still care, even if they're trying to convince themselves and the world that they don't. This isn't about giving anyone false hopes, please, but it is about giving you clarity and sharing hundreds of different clients and experience that I have. So let's take a deep breath, grab a note card, and together let's decode what's really going on behind their silence. So, sign number 1. Let's start with the obvious. They stay in contact, even casually, the friend situation here. So your ex is still texting, he's calling, or she's finding ways to stay in touch, even under that simple disguise of just checking in, we're friends. That tells me they haven't fully let go. Now, I've seen people say, Abby, we're just friends for now. But behind the scene, there's emotional tension in every conversation. So when someone's truly moved on, they don't need to maintain emotional access to you. They really don't. If they're still reaching out, it's not that I'm saying it's everything, but that's not nothing. It's something. The sign number 2 is they watch your stories or engage on social media. Now, we all know we're in a digital age and that social media can be considered emotional currency up to a certain extent. But if your ex is constantly watching your stories, liking your posts, reacting to your updates, they're still there. They're in the background, but they're still there. Now, does that mean they want you back? Not necessarily. But it does mean they're still curious about what you're doing with your life. And curiosity, we all know, is the first thread of emotional connection. Think about it. If they were truly done, that's it, I have nothing to do with that person, they wouldn't even need to keep tabs. Their silence would be full and final. So if it's not, there's still something unresolved. Let's not push it, though. Sign number 3 is they find any connection as a means to bring up shared memories. Now, this is a big one. So if your ex is texting you with things like, whatever, just something very innocuous, and then all of a sudden says, remember that time, I don't know, we got caught in the rain in Barcelona, or the pizza place we used to go to, or whatever it might be that you can relate to, you both can relate to. It's not random. That's called emotional anchoring. They're reaching backwards, not just to reminisce, but to reconnect emotionally. So when we're trying to move on, we avoid memory triggers purposely. When we still emotionally tied, though, we seek them out. So, we unmask them up to a certain extent. So if they're bringing up the past, it means part of them is still living in it. Now let's go on to sign number 4. They ask about your dating life. Now this one is subtle, but oh my gosh, it's loaded. If your ex starts asking, so, are you seeing someone? Or, hey, that girl you posted a picture with, who is that? They're not just making conversation. They're basically gauging how replaceable they are, not you. They're testing the waters for jealousy up to a certain extent. And deep down, they're hoping to hear that you're not over them yet. Now, trust me, people who are fully detached couldn't care less who you're dating or whether you're dating or not. They really don't. They're detached. They're done. So if they're asking, they still care. I like to keep them guessing and not fully answer this question. One response that I love and I always suggest is simply in a surprise way ask, whoa, why is this important to you? I mean, after all, you gave up on us. I'm totally floored that you asked me this question. Don't rush to say I am or I'm not. Keep them guessing. Now, sign number 5 is when their energy feels conflicted. This one requires emotional intuition. And for those clients that are watching this that know me, this is a very sensitive spot when it talks about energy. The energy we feel for each other, the energy we are. They tell you that they're not really moving on, that they're still lingering in conversation. They act a little cold, but keep initiating contact. They say they're happy, but their eyes look sort of distant. And when someone's energy and words don't align, believe there's a conflict within themselves. It's a sign that they're still emotionally torn. And that internal tug of war usually means the door isn't fully closed. It's important to be able to recognize that because we're energetic creatures up to a certain extent. You walk into a room, you know who's having a good day or not, more or less. I mean, I'm not saying we can read each other's energy 100%, but if you're into the law of attraction as I am and do all kinds of, diving into the metaphysicals and all the other different energetic fields that we have, you will realize that you can sort of tell by what a person is radiating. And most of the times we can say, I'm happy, and not so fast. Our energy is not giving the same language. Another sign is they get jealous. Now, even subtly. And remember this, jealousy isn't always dramatic. It sometimes shows up in a sarcasm, a short, passive-aggressive comment. Something like, wow, you're really living your best life now. I see what you're posting. You're looking good. I guess you really moved on pretty quickly, don't you think? And they're a little sarcastic. And that's really an emotional clue. And while it doesn't guarantee love, it definitely signals attachment, familiarity with you, okay? People who are indifferent, they don't get jealous, period, end of story. And the sign number 7 that I like to go is they go hot and cold. One day they're warm and flirty, the next they're cold and distant. This push-pull behavior is classic post-breakup confusion. And why is it confusion? It usually means they're still emotionally attached, but they're afraid of perhaps rejection. They don't completely understand what they're feeling. They're afraid of becoming vulnerable again. I tell my clients hot and cold behavior often reflects in a nutshell, a battle between the heart and the head. So if your ex is flip-flopping, it's a sign that something is still unresolved. Another sign is they haven't fully removed you from their life, at least on social media. If they still have photos up, if they haven't returned your stuff, if they are still in touch with your family or friends or whoever, that's not closure. There is a crack in the wall, and they want to have that access, even if it's for a nanosecond. True detachment looks clean, it's clear, it's complete. So when people leave doors slightly open, it's often because they're not ready yet for it to be fully shut. I think this is important. Another sign is when you feel them emotionally. Now, once again, my law of attraction followers know exactly what I'm referring to here. If you are not familiar with what makes up really the law of attraction, please do not hesitate to book a one-on-one session with me. Honestly speaking, I will invite you to dive into this amazing world. Together, you dive into the art of manifesting anything you want, including your ex. But I don't like to make false promises. It's all uniquely designed based on your history. But for now, let me touch on what I mean when referring to feeling them emotionally, sometimes even in silence. Have you ever felt their presence? I don't know, maybe just simply waking up and thinking about them. And it's not because you've been ruminating. You just think about them out of nowhere. You sense they're thinking about you too. And days later, just like that, they reach out. Now, this isn't just in your head, and it's certainly not coincidental. There's real science behind emotional connection. And, we need to understand what makes up energetic cords. Now, I've worked with hundreds of clients who've experienced this. And because of this, I am confident that this is a sign that your bond isn't fully broken. If you feel them energetically, lean into your intuition. I mean, don't be afraid of your intuition. It's that third voice we have within ourselves. But don't let it override, ever, your self-respect. Now, finally, the last sign for this video purposely is they haven't grown up since the breakup. Now, this one might surprise you. If your ex is still acting the same, and it's still avoiding their feelings, and they're still repeating the same patterns, and they still talk in the same lingo, and they still, they're just predictably the same, it often means they're emotionally stuck. People who are truly healed are moving and evolving. They change, they grow. But when someone hasn't evolved, they're often still emotionally orbiting you. They're still tangled in the story, whether they admit it or not. So if they're stuck, it doesn't mean you should wait. No, it just means your absence is being felt. And let that speak for itself, whatever it may say to you. Now, if you've been listening and thinking, okay, I've seen 4 or 5 of these signs, does that already mean it's a good indicator that they're still thinking about me, that they're still emotionally invested, at least, or they're on the fence? Perhaps. But remember this, just because your ex still cares doesn't mean they're ready to return. And just because they're still thinking about you doesn't mean you should wait. And your job really isn't to decode their feelings. Your job is to stay literally anchored in your growth, your healing, and your forward motion. It's important. I invite you to take the free assessment questionnaire provided below for you. I won't know what's going on. It's made for you to assist in determining where you are in the relationship and what steps to take moving forward. because clarity doesn't come from watching your ex. It comes from watching yourself. You read back your answers. You see where you stand, how you're showing up, whether you're honoring your own path. So here's what I want you to take away from this particular video. Your ex might still care, and that's possible. Why not? You're amazing. But you have to care even more for yourself, for your growth, and for your healing. Because when you become the version of yourself that's whole and radiant, your ex will be so curious as to how you were able to evolve into this new you, and more importantly, why. Remember, we always want what we can't have. And when they suspect you are ready to replace them, it's really crazy how all of a sudden they can't help but be drawn to you again. And I see this over and over and over again. And I can't elaborate on it enough, because it's not about playing games. It's about being strong enough to allow them to see you slipping through their fingers. And slipping through their fingers doesn't mean you're with someone else. You know, people have this tendency, I call it the monkey branching, from one place to the other, No, you're just regaining your life. You are going back to who you're meant to be, so that they themselves will feel captivated and challenged and curious. And through that process, it opens up all the doors for us to see them, and most importantly, to showcase our strength. So thank you once again for joining me today. As always, if this video resonated with you in any way, if it's something that you feel that you'll be watching over and over because there are significant reasons that are outlined, please share it with others. It's like and subscribe. You'll get more tips on personal growth, on mending broken relationships, and actually everything in between. Relationships is an enormous spectrum of different issues and different things. And as coaches, we are here. And specifically our team at Love Advice TV, we offer you these videos. So in the absence of anyone but your thoughts, you can click them on. And we are helping you along the way. Stay centered, stay emotionally regulated, and remind you you're not alone. I'm here for you. We're here for you. And until next time, I'm Coach Abby.